Have you ever wondered why life feels so serious? Why we wear our worries like badges of honor, as though to be anxious is to be alive? We walk around with furrowed brows and tightened jaws, trying desperately to play the game of life correctly, to say the right words, make the right moves, and arrive at the mythical destination of success. But the great cosmic joke is this: there is no destination. There never was. Life is not a journey toward a goal. It's a game, and the whole purpose of a game, if you remember from childhood, is to play. When you were young, you didn't swing on the swings to get somewhere. You swung for the joy of the motion. You spun the merry-go-round not to complete a task, but to feel the wind and the dizzying laughter that came with it. Somewhere along the line, though, someone whispered in your ear, "Be serious. Grow up. Life isn't play anymore." And you believe them, so here you are, in a world of serious faces and ticking clocks, where success has become the new religion and comparison its priest. Everyone pretending to know the rules of the game while secretly terrified they're losing. But what if, just what if, the universe never intended you to win or lose? What if it only wanted to see what kind of player you'd become once you forgot it was all play? You see, when I say life is a game, I don't mean it in the trivial sense, not like a competition or a sport where there are winners and losers. No, I mean it in the profound, cosmic sense. Life is Lila, the divine play, in which existence itself is having a bit of fun pretending to be you. You're not a stranger wandering through a cold and foreign universe. You are the universe, in disguise, hiding from yourself for the thrill of rediscovery. The same way a child hides behind a curtain and giggles because they know they will be found, that's what life is. A game of hide and seek with eternity. Now, here's where the hack comes in. Most people are playing the game unconsciously. They think the game is about accumulation of money, status, followers, spiritual merit, or moral superiority. They run faster, climb higher, and shout louder, trying to convince themselves they are ahead. But that's like playing chess without realizing the pieces are made of mist. The true hack is not to escape the game. It's to wake up within it.to remember that you are playing. Because when you remember, the fear dissolves. Think about it. When you're playing a game you truly enjoy, you don't cling to the outcome. You might win or lose, but the laughter is in the movement itself. You're free to make bold moves, take risks, and even fail spectacularly, because it's all part of the fun. That is what it means to live consciously, to see that the highs and lows are both strokes of the same brush painting the masterpiece of your existence. Imagine a musician sitting at the piano, worried about playing the perfect final note. That musician would never truly play. The music happens only when they surrender to the flow, when their hands move by instinct and the melody becomes a dance between control and chaos. That's life. The moment you stop trying to control it, you begin to feel its rhythm, and that's the secret. The rhythm was never outside you. You are the rhythm. You are the pulse, the beat, the melody that life dances to. You've just been pretending not to hear it. But don't be too hard on yourself. This forgetting is part of the play. You are meant to get lost in your character, the name, the job, the story, the struggles, because without the illusion, there would be no experience. After all, what would a game be without a challenge? What would hide and seek be if the child refused to hide? Yet somewhere inside, there's a whisper, a faint laughter beneath the noise, reminding you that none of this is as serious as it seems. You've never been endangered, you've never been separate, you've only been pretending to be, and that's the first hack. Don't take the play too seriously. Once you realize you're an actor on the stage, the fear of failure disappears. You can dance through the drama, laugh through the tears, and speak your lines with sincerity but without attachment, because the moment you see through the illusion, you can enjoy it more deeply. You can dive into life fully, not as a frightened participant, but as a playful creator. Now, you might say, but surely, we can't just play all the time. We have responsibilities, jobs, families, deadlines. Yes, of course you do, but that's part of the game too. Even the most serious roles in a play must be performed convincingly. The tragedy needs its actors, the comedy its fools, but the difference is, when you know you're acting, you can give yourself to the role completely, without forgetting it's still theatre, and the universe is a stage grander than any ever built. Every star, every atom, every heartbeat, all moving in an intricate dance, all playing their parts perfectly, and you, my dear, are right in the center of it, not a victim, not a pawn, but a player who's finally waking up to the rules of the dream. Now, once you see that life is a game, the question becomes, how do you play it well? How do you move through this strange dream of existence with grace, awareness, and joy, even when the rules seem unfair and the dice don't roll your way? Well, the first step is to understand that the game is not about control. It's about participation. You're not here to force life into submission. You're here to dance with it. Imagine two people dancing, one rigid, counting every step, terrified of looking foolish. The other relaxed, feeling the rhythm, flowing with the partner's movements, unafraid to improvise. Which one enjoys the dance? Which one is truly alive in the moment? You see, the ego wants certainty. It wants to know the next move before it's made. It wants to win. But life, the real, living, breathing thing, is always uncertain. It's jazz, not marching band music. It's improvisation. And the beauty of it lies in the unpredictability. When you try to control the game, you end up missing the music. You become so busy managing outcomes that you forget to experience the miracle of being here at all. The hack, then, is surrender, not in the sense of giving up, but of letting go of the desperate need to know how it all turns out. Letting go of the illusion that you are the controller of the universe. Because the more you tighten your grip, the less you hold. Have you ever tried to hold water in your hands? You scoop it up, clench your fist, and it slips away. But when you open your palms, the water rests there, cool and still. That's how life works. You can only hold it when you stop trying to own it, and that's when you begin to play with power. Not the kind of power that dominates, but the kind that flows, the quiet strength of someone who is in tune with the rhythm of things. When you walk through life this way, something remarkable happens. You stop reacting and start responding. You see each moment not as an obstacle to overcome, but as a move in the great dance. When you encounter difficulty, instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is this teaching me about how to play?" And the very energy that once brought frustration becomes fuel for awareness. You start to laugh at life's ironies. You begin to find beauty even in the chaos. Because the chaos, too, is part of the design. Every fall, every heartbreak, every detour, all designed to show you where you still believe in the illusion of control. You may notice this when you're deeply immersed in something, creating art, making love, watching the sunset. Time dissolves. The watcher disappears. You are no longer you doing something. You are simply the act itself. That is the state of true play, and that's the second hack. Lose yourself to find yourself. When you forget yourself in the doing, when the boundary between player and game blurs, you merge with life's current. That's what the mystics and poets have always pointed to. That moment when the wave realizes it is the ocean. Now, let's go even deeper. You see, most of us have been conditioned to believe that life is serious business because we've been hypnotized by the idea of identity. We've mistaken our costume for our being. You wake up each morning and put on your character, the name, the face, the history, the fears. You say, "This is me." But is it? Who were you before you learned your name? Before you were told who to be, what to want, and how to behave? Beneath the mask of your personality, there is something vast, something playful, effortless, and unbounded. That's your true self, the player behind the avatar, and the moment you remember that, the game transforms. Suddenly, You can laugh at your own drama. You can forgive more easily because you see that everyone else is lost in their roles too, all actors forgetting they're on the same stage. You can stop chasing meaning and start creating it, moment by moment. When you live from that awareness, even pain becomes beautiful. Because pain, too, is movement, the friction that gives shape to the dance. Without sorrow, there would be no compassion. Without endings, no beginnings. Without forgetting, no joy in remembering. And here's the beautiful paradox: the moment you stop trying to escape the game, you level up in it. Because the real mastery of life doesn't come from avoiding the mess, it comes from dancing gracefully within it. You learn to surf the waves instead of trying to flatten the ocean, and you begin to notice the very energy you once called problems starts to serve you. That's when the ordinary becomes extraordinary. A walk becomes a meditation. A conversation becomes a revelation. Even silence becomes music. Now, most people think that awakening means stepping out of the world, renouncing everything, retreating into some cave of enlightenment. But that's just another illusion. You don't leave the game to wake up. You wake up in the game. You still pay your bills. You still fall in love. You still stub your toe and curse, but somewhere inside, you're smiling because you know the secret. It's all part of the play, the challenge, the heartbreak, the triumph. Each moment is the universe talking to itself, through you. And when you finally see that, the separation dissolves. You stop asking, "What do I want from life?" and start asking, "What does life want to do through me?" And then, you are no longer playing for yourself. You're playing as the whole. When you begin to play as the whole, something miraculous happens. You realize there was never a you apart from life. There was only life pretending to be you. You were never the wave struggling against the ocean. You were the ocean, for a time, calling itself a wave. Now imagine how differently you'd play the game if you truly knew this, that if you knew that the same intelligence that grows the trees and moves the stars is breathing your lungs and thinking your thoughts right now. Would you still rush? Would you still worry about where you're going? Or would you begin to trust that the current knows its way? That's the third hack. Trust the current, because when you do, life begins to unfold effortlessly, not without challenge, but without resistance. You see, resistance is what creates suffering. When the river flows left and you insist on going right, you exhaust yourself. But when you relax, you find that the current was never against you. It was carrying you all along, toward places you couldn't have imagined. The trick is to stop demanding that the world makes sense according to your limited plan, for the universe has a sense of humor far greater than our intellect can comprehend. Just when you think you've lost, something unexpected arises. Just when you think it's over, a door appears where there was once only a wall. The cosmic game, you see, isn't about getting what you want. It's about discovering what you really are. By stripping away everything that you are not, every disappointment, every detour, every heartbreak. These are the moves that help you remember. Now, let's play with an image. Imagine you're dreaming. In this dream, you can be anyone you like. You live a full lifetime, with love, loss, adventure, sorrow. You feel it all as if it were utterly real. Then, one morning, you wake up and you laugh. You laugh because you realize that though the pain felt real, you were never really hurt. You were dreaming yourself into the story so deeply that you forgot who was dreaming. That's what enlightenment is. Not a special state to be reached, but simply waking up to the fact that you've been dreaming all along, and once you awaken, you can dive back into the dream, but now consciously. You can enjoy the play, not as a prisoner of it, but as its joyful creator. That's what it means to hack the game of life, to stop fighting what is, and start dancing with it, because once you stop trying to win, you start to play creatively, and the game becomes art. Your life becomes a canvas upon which the universe paints its laughter, its wonder, its infinite possibility. Now, some people hear this and think, well then, nothing matters. But that's the opposite of the truth. When you see life as a game, Everything begins to matter more deeply. Every moment becomes precious because it's fleeting. Every encounter becomes sacred because it's unique. You start to notice the sparkle in ordinary things, the sunlight on your coffee cup, the wind moving through the leaves, the laughter of a stranger. You realize that eternity isn't some distant reward after death. It's right here, in the timeless now. And yet, this realization doesn't make you passive. In fact, it makes you more alive, because when you're no longer obsessed with outcomes, you can act freely. You can take risks, explore, love, create, without fear of failure. Because failure is just another costume the game wears. You might fall down, yes. But even the falling becomes part of the dance. You might lose something, but in losing, you might find something far greater. The joy of simply being here at all. There's a marvelous freedom in recognizing that you can't truly lose in this game, because the player and the player one. The wave can crash, but it can never be separated from the ocean. So how do you live from this awareness? You begin by paying attention, not to what your mind says about life, but to life itself. Notice how everything arises and passes effortlessly. Sounds, sensations, thoughts. Notice how you are aware of it all, yet untouched by it. You are not the thoughts you think. You are not the fears you feel. You are the space in which they appear, vast, open, free, and that space is what's truly playing the game. When you recognize this, the drama of your story loses its grip. You can still play your role as lover, artist, friend, dreamer, but with a twinkle in your eye because you know it's theater. You know it's pretend. And that knowing brings an exquisite lightness. The sages call this the middle way, to live fully, but without attachment. To engage deeply, but without possession. To love completely, but without clinging. That's the essence of play. You play wholeheartedly, but you don't try to keep the game frozen in time. When the round ends, you bow, you laugh, and you move on to the next one. And that brings us to another secret of this great game. Everything ends, and that's what makes it beautiful. If the music never stopped, you'd never dance. If the sun never set, you'd forget how to marvel at its rise. If you never lost, you'd never learn to let go. The endings, the goodbyes, the deaths, the quiet fade-outs, these are not flaws in the design. They're the punctuation marks that make the sentence of life poetic. So play the game. Play it fiercely, tenderly, courageously. Love deeply, cry deeply, laugh until your ribs ache. And when the time comes to lay down your role, do so with gratitude. For you will have tasted the mystery, the divine play in motion. And so we come to the most exquisite move in this grand game, the one that most players never dare to make, to let go completely. You see, all through life we are clutching to people, possessions, beliefs, even to ideas of who we think we are. We cling to our identities like children holding their toys, terrified that if we drop them, we'll fall into nothingness. But the truth is that nothingness, that great, silent space behind all form, is not the enemy. It's home. Every game must have pauses, moments of stillness, or the play collapses under its own noise. Music, after all, is not just the notes, it's the silence between them, and in the same way, your life, your entire story, is being played against the vast backdrop of nothingness. That space, that stillness, is who you really are. The player behind the mask. When you die, you do not disappear. You return to the very same space from which you came, the infinite consciousness that dreamed this whole thing into being. You might imagine it like this: the universe is a vast, eternal mirror. It looks at itself by becoming you, and when your part of the reflection fades, it does not mean the mirror is broken. It simply means the light has shifted. That's why every ending is sacred. Because endings are not losses, they are awakenings. They are reminders that the dance was never meant to last forever, only long enough to be beautiful. So the final hack, the ultimate secret to this whole cosmic game, is to stop resisting the flow of change. Stop trying to freeze the moment, because what you call death is simply the next verse of the song. Think about how absurd it would be if a musician tried to play one note forever, afraid to move on to the next. The beauty of the melody lies in its movement, in the rise and fall, tension and release, and so it is with you. You are not a static being. You are a living symphony, a flowing expression of the universe improvising itself endlessly. Every thought, every joy, every heartbreak is a chord in the greater harmony, and when you finally understand this, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see the divine not just in temples or heavens, but in every passing moment. You begin to see that the divine was never outside you. It was in your laughter, in your tears, in the smell of rain and the taste of coffee. It was in the sound of your own breath. So you see, the game was never about reaching enlightenment or perfection or any particular goal. It was about remembering who was playing all along, and now that you remember, you can laugh, truly laugh, because the great cosmic trick has been revealed. The seeker was the sought. The dreamer was the dream. The player was the game. Now, you might ask, what do I do with this knowing? But that's just the ego wanting another rulebook. There are no instructions anymore. There never were. Once you realize the game, you don't need to win. You just need to play beautifully. To wake up each morning and say, what a marvelous illusion this is, and then dive in, fully, fearlessly, playfully. You can laugh at your worries, because you know they're part of the story. You can forgive your enemies, because you see they were only fellow actors, cast to help you awaken. You can love without fear, because there's nothing to lose that wasn't already eternal. That is what it means to live freely, to see through the play and still play it with all your heart. So when the world feels heavy, when the script seems tragic or unfair, pause for a moment, close your eyes. Feel the breath moving in and out and ask yourself, who's breathing? Who's watching this scene unfold? You'll notice there's something beyond the noise, a quiet awareness that never moves, never changes, never ages. That awareness is you, not the character, not the mask, but the infinite being that dreamed the whole show into motion. And once you see that, you're free to act, free to fail, free to love without reason and to cry without shame, free to live without needing the universe to make sense, because you've realized you are the universe making sense of itself. In that state, even the smallest things become sacred. The sound of rain becomes an orchestra. The flicker of a candle becomes a galaxy. A smile from a stranger becomes a reminder that the whole cosmos is in conversation with you. That is the highest form of play, to live as though everything were divine, because it is. And so, my dear friend, the invitation is simple. Play with abandon, play with curiosity. Play with love. When you wake in the morning, don't rush to remember your role. Pause, and feel the wonder of simply being here, breathing, thinking, alive. That's the universe stretching its limbs, ready for another round of the great game. And when the curtain finally falls, when your part in this act ends, you'll smile. Because you'll know the secret that so few ever discover. You never left the stage. You were never separate from the music. You were the play, playing itself, endlessly, joyfully, eternally. So laugh deeply, dance lightly, and when you look at the stars tonight, remember, you put them there, long ago, so you could find your way back home. For in the end, there was never a game to hack. There was only life, perfect, spontaneous, radiant, inviting you to remember how to play. And now that you have remembered, the game can truly begin.